In xiangqi, when the generals face each other, it is possible for them to turn feral and want to unleash their internal beast upon each other in martial violence. But when moving east to the Korean Peninsula, they can be seen as being more civilized in their conflict, as seen with the fact that instead of engaging in a fight, both sides agree to peace negotiations, or in gaming terms, a draw. But with that said, civility in such content is a bit nebulous for what is seen as being the right thing to do while on the battlefield. In a sense of human decency can be cruelly punished in the court system of more civilized parts of society. Greetings and welcome back to Checkpoint Gaming, Chess. With this episode, we will be going over Janggi. With Janggi, it is a version of chess that is native to that of the Korean Peninsula and is a descendant of xiangqi, although it's not well known outside of that part of the world. And though it has similarities to that of xiangqi, it also has its own flavor to it, as well as seen with differences found within the rules. Since there might not be a whole lot of information found for this game outside of Korea, we'd like to receive input from you, the audience, on what we might have missed or didn't properly convey. With the objective of Janggi, it is to put the general of the opposing player into checkmate. During play, the players will alternate movement where a single piece is moved each turn. Whenever a piece has been captured, it is done through the normal movement and landing of the opposing player's piece, with captured enemy pieces being removed from the game. With pieces that move along the file and rank lines of the board, when found within the fortress, they're able to move along the diagonal lines as well. Instead of being divided into colors, the players are divided into being either Cho or Han, with the Cho player always going first. The game also has a forced draw, which occurs when both generals are found in the same file without any intervening pieces of either player found in said file. This means that each general isn't allowed to face each other, although an exception does exist for this. Isn't there always an exception? If one of the players finds themselves in a situation where they possess less powerful pieces found upon the board when compared to their opponent, said player has the option of having their general facing the opposing general with no intervening pieces found upon said file. With this situation, it will put the opposing general into check, thus requiring the stronger player to protect their general by either moving it out of check or to move another piece as a means of protecting the general, kind of like Tim McCarthy when protecting Ronald Reagan in John Hinckley Jr.'s attempt to assassinate Reagan. Once doing so, said player is able to use their general to engage in this action multiple times during the game. With the player who chooses to engage in such a move, they forfeit any possibility of winning the game. Even if they manage to put the opposing player into checkmate, the game is still considered to be a draw. Along this same vein, this player can use their general to protect one of their pieces that is under attack, while this other piece is found in the enemy fortress. If used in this manner and leads to the opposing general to be put into checkmate, the game is deemed a draw. But when it comes to that of tournaments, the rule surrounding that of forced draw is reduced, as well as requiring both players to have a reduced force. This is seen with both players having a force value that is equal or less than 30 points, where each piece has the following values. The rook is equal to 13 points, the elephant is equal to 3 points, the cannon is equal to 7 points, the minister is equal to 3 points, the horse is equal to 5 points, and the pawn is equal to 2 points. Otherwise, without the presence of the other pieces, when the generals are found on the same file and there are no intervening pieces, the squaring off generals will have no effect upon each other. And since the document we use to extract this information doesn't list a point value for the general, we're assuming that he's free, which makes sense since he's the keystone piece on either player's side. And given his inherent value to either player, both players will have to have the general on their side at the start of the game. A variant to this points rule is to assign points to pieces during a tournament, which is only to occur when the game ends in a draw. In this situation, the player that possesses the greater total point value remaining upon the board is deemed the winner. On top of this, the Cho player will have to deduct 1.5 points from their total score due to them going first. With the board, it consists of an 8x9 square grid with 72 squares found upon it, with it being longer than it is wide when set up. Each side of the board also has a fortress on it that consists of a 3x3 square grid with an X found connecting the corners. With this X, it indicates where the general and the ministers are limited to during the course of the game. With all of the other pieces, they're able to move anywhere upon the board. In addition to this large X, there are 14 small X's found elsewhere upon the board, which are used as an easy indicator of where the pawns and cannons of a given player are to be placed during setup. Beyond that, they have no bearing upon the game. When placing the pieces upon the board, they're to be placed upon the intersections of the squares instead of within the actual squares themselves. On top of this, although they are limited with their given movement, the pieces are able to move along the lines found upon the board, which allows for greater movement of the pieces. The ranks and files also possess letters and numbers for purposes of recording moves during the game. When it comes to that of the game pieces, they're flat and octagonal in shape, with differing Chinese ideograms found upon their surfaces, which acts like indicators of which player controls them. The point behind this is to allow each player to know which piece is theirs. Some of the pieces also possess different characters, which is to further distinguish the armies from one another. In addition to their ideograms, the different pieces will also vary in size, with the general being the largest and thickest of the pieces, the ministers and pawns being the smallest and thinnest of the pieces, and the rooks, cannons, horses, and elephants splitting the difference. The respective players are also known as Cho or Han, with the Cho player traditionally possessing either blue or green ideograms, while the Han player traditionally possesses red ideograms. With the general, it moves just a single point within its respective fortress and can move in any direction along the lines found within said fortress. And though each general is able to face each other while unobstructed, it results in the game to end in a forced draw or stalemate if this occurs. With the minister, it moves just like that of the general, a single point within their respective fortress, and it can move in any direction as long as the minister follows a line found within said fortress. It is also worth noting that the minister is confined to their respective fortress. With the elephant, it moves one square either on the file or rank, followed by moving 2 points diagonally forward. With that said, it's unable to jump over any pieces that are found along its path. With the horse, it moves one square either on the file or rank, followed by one square diagonally. With that said, it is unable to jump over an obstructing piece, causing it to be blocked. Regarding the elephant and the horse, they are the only pieces that can have their starting positions be altered, something we'll be talking about shortly. With the rook, it moves as many squares as the player wishes in a straight line along either the file or rank. With that said, when the rook is found within their given fortress, it is able to move along the diagonal lines. In order for it to capture an enemy piece, it does so along its movement path. It is also worth noting that it is unable to jump over that of other pieces. With the cannon, it is able to move along any straight line found on the board, having to jump over one other piece to do so, including when it comes to that of capturing. It also cannot jump over more than a single piece during its movement, and it is unable to jump over another cannon, regardless if it's friend or foe. Because of this, a cannon is never able to capture that of another cannon. Maybe cannons have some form of unspoken truce in place where they'd never harm one another. The cannon is also able to travel along the diagonal, but only with the use of the diagonal lines found within the fortress. With all of that said, the cannon is unable to be moved by either player upon their first turn. Finally, with the pawn, it is only able to move one square forward or one square along the rank, but is unable to move backwards. It is also able to capture as part of its normal movement. But once it reaches the furthest rank upon the board, it is no longer able to move forward, just along the rank. Because of this, the pawn is unable to be promoted. When in the opposing fortress, it is able to move along the diagonal lines found within it, but only in a forward manner. With the arrangement of pieces upon the board, it looks like this. On each player's first rank, the rook is found in each corner, followed by the horse, then the elephant. Next to the elephant is the minister with an empty space found in between them. On the second rank is the general, which is found in the center file, thus placing them in the middle of the fortress. Found on the third rank are the cannons that are found on the second file from either side of the board. And finally, on the fifth rank, the 5 pawns are to be placed upon it that are equally spaced so that there's no 2 pawns found adjacent to each other. So once everything has been placed, the pieces are symmetric upon the board. After setting up the pieces, but before play begins, each player has the option of exchanging the positions of the horse and the elephant. This can be done by swapping either, neither, or both pairs of animals upon either side of their given fortress. So neither player is obliged to perform this given piece exchange as being part of their default setup for the game. But with all of that said, each player will have to possess at least 1 elephant and 1 horse upon each side of their lineup, thus preventing them from stacking these pieces with 2 horses or 2 elephants found upon one side of their given fortress. Once this rearranging process has been completed, the game is able to begin. During the course of play, if a player finds themselves in a situation where they don't have a safe or desirable move, they can pass. To indicate this, the passing player will simply turn their general over, in its place, thus allowing their opponent to perform the next move. And if a player continually forces a repetition of the same positions upon the board and doesn't want to break this pattern, then the game is to end in a draw. Finally, if both players agree that there isn't any way for either of them to win the game, they can agree upon a draw. So with that said, that is what you need to know about Janggi. With that taken care of, we can start talking the pieces found in shogi. If you liked this episode, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to stay up to date on any future episodes we upload, go ahead and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/checkpointgaming. See you in the next episode and happy gaming.